Welcome back to the Sad Fan, where we talk about the good, the bad, and everything that made us sad. Now, we're fresh off the draft and we're into NBA playoff season, NHL playoff season, and it's time to talk about what makes us sad. And what makes us sad is being from the Bay Area and watching all of the Oakland teams have a mass exodus out of Oakland and into other markets. And on top of that, we're looking at what is now I think we're only allowed to call them the A's according to baseball, but the Sacramento A's having a decent start to their season, which obviously nobody expected. As it pertains to the A's, we're used to heartache and bad teams and them not delivering. And all of a sudden, to start the season, we're like 30 games in and they're right around 500, playing okay. And who knows if that's going to continue. I mean, it's the A's, but usually that management team likes to make a trade if they're about 500 or they're in the mix in the division or in the wild card to make them competitive. And we can see that happening again with the A's. And that makes us kind of sad because you kind of wish that was what had happened on their way out of Oakland. And it just wasn't to be. No sport apparently was to be here in Oakland. And here in Oakland, I live in a different country, so I'm not in Oakland. That's where my heart is. It's where all my favorite teams are, and it's sad to see that happen to that community with that team, especially because that was the last remaining team. The Raiders had gone, the Warriors moved on to San Francisco, and they were left with the A's, and the A's left them too. Now, a lot of that's on both parties. But that's speaking of the city and the team, but it still hurts to see them starting to win instead of last season, win this season. Now let's get on to basketball because we're not going to do too much on that, but we want to always mention that we're watching the A's. If Wes was here, he'd be watching the Mariners as much as he hates it because he's also been doomed to a life of sadness as it pertains to his favorite baseball team. But at least we got home runs this season. On to basketball. It's going to be a shorter show today because there's not a lot going on, and we're keeping an eye on hockey, but it's there's only so much capacity, right, that one has, and we're going to keep it to basketball this episode. It'll be a shorter episode because we're just going to talk about the 4 series that we got going on right now, starting with the Thunder and the Nuggets. Now, the Nuggets might have the best player in a long time since LeBron, definitely since LeBron in Jokic. But the Thunder have a complete team, and we talked about how they have everything you need to be a champion. The Thunder have a 7-foot big man that can score. The Thunder have a guy that can go get you fouls, that can create offense on his own. They've got 3-point shooting, but they seem to have been largely incapacitated by a Nuggets team that is a bit veteran with Russell Westbrook, with Aaron Gordon, with Jamal Murray, with Jokic in there. And it's easily the best series so far. It's a series we're having the most fun with. It's had the most parity. It's gone back and forth the most. And what we're looking at is it make or break time for the Nuggets. Like, is this, though, it's only their second time. And I know a lot of outlets are keying in on it being make or break for, not the Nuggets, for the Thunder. I think it's more make or break for the Nuggets. That's why I had that Freudian slip just a second ago. I think it's make or break for the Nuggets because this is their last season with this blueprint. And they brought in a player that is as volatile as a volcanic eruption can be in Russell Westbrook. And so far, he's been playing very, very well. But what's funny is they fired their coach prior to the playoffs because he was playing Westbrook too many minutes. Well, at least that's what they told us. And we're seeing Westbrook on the floor nonstop, and he's playing very well, which is very interesting, especially because the series is in the last city that really loved Russell Westbrook. Outside of Russell Westbrook, the only player that's really showing up in and out of every single quarter of each game is Jokic. And it's amazing to see what he can do. And you think he's surrounded by decent role players or really good seconds, but they can't get over the hump with just him and these players as it pertains to playing against a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder. They almost didn't get out of the first round against the Clippers. Okay, so they can obviously do it. And they're my pick to make it out of this round. I don't think the Thunder are going to do it. So that blueprint will stick together at least for this playoff series, but they're going to face a really tough matchup in the next round. Let's talk about the Thunder. No, you don't blow this team up. This team is very young. This team is very good. This team is easily the best team in the NBA. That doesn't always matter as you get into the playoffs, but it's easily the best team as you get in, like as you examine the whole season, and we're looking at this at like from a 6,000 foot view. We're seeing that the Thunder were easily the number one team in the NBA all season long, and there weren't a lot of teams that were close. The only team that was close was Cleveland, and look what's happening to Cleveland, granted injured. So this game is, I think, a setup for even more years to come. For right now, we'll see what Denver does after this season with their roster, but I don't think the Thunder blow it up. I think the Thunder have a great chance to be an epic team. And last time they blew up a team, I guess it was Kevin Durant that blew up that team. It was the Thunder of Russell Westbrook, of James Harden, of Kevin Durant. And they took years and years and years to recover, especially because they were Westbrook led, and you were never going to win a championship with Russell Westbrook being your number one. Let's drop down to the Warriors Timberwolves. That's that matchup that that the Nuggets or the Thunder are looking at. And like I said, my pick is the Nuggets to come out of that series successful. A real damper was put on the Timberwolves Warriors when Steph Curry went out with his hamstring. And you've seen it the last two games. I mean, granted, Jimmy put up a fight here in game 3, but they lost. And Jimmy Butler quoted saying, "It's time to put on our big boy pants. We've got to put on our big boy pants to go out there and play." Well, Jimmy, you're the star right now. You got traded for this moment on this team. You got a 2-year, $50 million a year contract. You need to go out and win a game, so that they can justify this trade. Like, you need to step up. It can't always be falling back on Steph Curry to go out there and bring that team together. Right now, you are the superstar. Okay, Draymond Green thinks he is. He's not the superstar. Draymond Green is just the emotional engine of this team. It is up to Jimmy Butler to step into that Steph Curry role and show us what he can do. Meanwhile, we've got Anthony Edwards taking on all comers and taking out all comers. It's got to be killing Draymond Green because Rudy Gobert is on this team. And Rudy Gobert, last time these teams got together in a heated atmosphere, was nearly choked out by Draymond Green. So Draymond Green has to be going crazy without his partner out there, without Steph Curry. They've been together through 4 championships and making it to 8. And you know that if Steph Curry was out there, this would be a different dynamic. The floor would be spread differently. It would give Jimmy more space to operate. And right now, they're kind of sinking into the key, which is going to crush Jimmy Butler's game. It's going to crush that Warriors team if they're playing through Jimmy Butler. So you need these role players to step up. Healed, you got to keep doing it. You can't stop until Steph Curry gets back. Brandon, you've got to step up, and you've got to fill that hole until Steph Curry gets back. It's got to be death by 1,000 assassins right now on the Golden State Warriors. Steve Kerr's going to get into that bench. We've seen Jonathan Kuminga come off the bench a couple times in this series now and make a big impact, but he's got to keep doing it because right now that hamstring injury is tricky. And until Steph Curry can come back from that hamstring, it is up to the Misfit gang to get out there, the Jimmy Butler and the Misfit gang to get out there and hold this team together and keep this series close so that hopefully Steph Curry can return and save the day for the Golden State Warriors in, what is the twilight of the runs that they have left. They don't have a lot of runs left in them. This team is an older team, and we'll see what it comes to. But my thought is if Steph Curry cannot make it back in the next 2 games, or if the Warriors drop the next game, the game tonight, it's over for the Golden State Warriors. The Minnesota Timberwolves will move on to the Western Conference Finals, where they will lose. They're going to lose against whoever they play, whether it be the Oklahoma City Thunder or the Denver Nuggets. one of those two teams is the team that's going to go to the championship. It will not be the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Kingslayer will be slain by either the team in Oklahoma City, the full team, not just SGA, not just Chet, or the Joker, because he's still doing it at a very high level, and that team looks very good. So regardless of who wins in this Minnesota Timberwolves Golden State Warriors series, they will be out in the next round, and it will be the winner of the Oklahoma City Thunder series or the Denver Nuggets series that plays and represents the Western Conference in the NBA Finals. We started to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers a little bit there, and we didn't get too far, just like the Cleveland Cavaliers are not going to get too far. And Ernie Johnson actually said this on the Dan Lebitard show with Stu Gatz, that he said he didn't go so he wasn't so brazen as to say that the Cleveland Cavaliers would lose to the Indiana Pacers. But what he did say is, if the Indiana Pacers get past the Milwaukee Bucks, look out for them in the next round. And sure enough, they came out swinging. Carlisle's got them going. And go listen to a couple shows back. Listen to a couple shows ago before the playoffs started. I said don't sleep on the Indiana Pacers once Tyrese Halliburton gets healthy. And gosh, they are cruising him. Miles Turner, Pascal Siakam are giving the Cavs everything they can take. And granted, the Cavs have been injured. And would it be different had they not had so many injuries? Probably, but right now they're down 3-1. This series looks over, and they just look like they're getting beat, and they don't want to be there. And that's what you're seeing out of Cleveland. It's easy to pick out a team and say, oh man, that team does not want to be in that game. That team very, very clearly does not want to be there. That team is doing everything it can to get out of that game. And their wish is the Indiana Pacers' command, because the Indiana Pacers are giving it to them. Halliburton is taking everything he wants from the Cleveland Cavaliers, and it shows, because he is swaggering in and out of that stadium every single night. And right now, they're going to return to Cleveland, and it's over. Sorry, Cleveland. I know that you're putting up the Believe Land stuff. You're putting up the we came back and won. We came back and beat the Warriors, but you had LeBron James when you were down 3-1 in that series. It was a different dynamic going on in that series. And let's just be honest, Draymond Green getting suspended took you guys pretty far as winning that series was concerned. So that's it. That's our pick. It is Cleveland goes down in the next game. Pacers win that series 4-1. Everything is done but the champagne. All right, let's go to the series that was the talk of the town this last week. And then all of a sudden, Boston decided to make their shots. And that is the Boston Celtics against the New York Knicks. I think Boston gets out of the series just fine. I don't think New York steals this game tonight. It hurts me because I do not like Boston teams. I do not like the Boston Celtics. I love Tatum's game, but I'm not a fan of Tatum's vanilla attitude. It's kind of like, show us some personality, give us something. At least Jaylen Brown gives us something. But with White, with Jaylen Brown, with Tatum, that team is just stacked with players that can ball out if needed, and it is needed. And they balled out in the last game. I mean, you look up, and that game there was a 30-point score differential in that game. When that team is on, that team is one of the best teams in the NBA, and that team can rain down threes. That team just needed, Joe Mazzulla he's ridiculous as a head coach to keep doing the same thing, right? Definition of insanity, and it's not working. However, not every team that they're going to play is the New York Knicks. So we'll see how far Boston goes. The Pacers are playing like a team possessed right now, and Boston is playing like a team that has already achieved all that they wanted to achieve, kind of like the former Big Three and Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Ray Allen. So is that one and done for them? Has the league already caught up to what the Boston Celtics were doing? Or will there be another run here in Boston? I don't think so. I don't think Boston's winning another championship this year. If you ask me, do you want Boston Celtics or the field? I'm taking the field because the field just looks a little bit more delicious. Okay, the field looks like it's hungry. The field looks like it's going to go in there and get it done, whether it be Denver, whether it be Oklahoma City Thunder, whether it be Minnesota or Indiana. It just looks more like those teams want this championship, whereas Boston is faltering under what is the pressure of a returning team trying to get back to the championship, trying to win back to back. And that is a lot of pressure. Look at all the dynasties and what they've gone through. Look at what's happened to the Kansas City Chiefs in the NFL over the last couple of years. It's very hard to get at and stay at the top of the talent. And that's all the best talent in the whole world is in the NBA as it pertains to basketball. And Boston, though an extremely talented team, looks like they can't handle the pressure. That remains to be seen. Again, I think they get out of this series. I think that the Knicks just don't have enough to compete with all of the stars on Boston. I think that Boston loses in the next round to Indiana. And I think we were saying, man, the NBA really doesn't want it to be Cleveland against Oklahoma City. Man, the NBA's worst nightmare is if it's Cleveland against Oklahoma City. Gosh, those are two teams that your casual fan cannot get behind. Well, guess what? We've all been fooled because I give to you the Indiana Pacers. And not just the Indiana Pacers, the Reggie Miller-less Indiana Pacers coming in to the fray, getting ready to ruin Boston's fun, to ruin the NBA's fun, and having big market teams make it back to the NBA Finals. But here we are with these teams. All right, as we end today's show, we did have a UFC pay-per-view event over the weekend. Don't ask me to pronounce his name, but Bilal Muhammad goes down and gives up his welterweight title to Jack Della Maddalena. Probably got that incredibly wrong. It makes me sad. Let's go back to the sad fan that it's so hard to catch up. I used to watch MMA every single weekend, particularly UFC, and it's so hard to watch it overseas because it comes on at like 3 a.m, and I'm not that dedicated. I guess I am a casual, as it comes on at 3 a.m. I'm not going to wake up, set an alarm specifically for that, pay $80 to be woken up at 3 a.m. to watch. But it also seems like there's a star problem in the UFC because there's not really a reason to watch. I wanted to watch Patty fight Chandler, and that was the last one I can think of. And yeah, that's recent, but there's not a ton of stars that I'm tuning in to watch anymore. And that's because we're getting fights that are just not super interesting from fighters that are just not super interesting. Bilal Muhammad's not interesting. I mean, I would have loved to see him fight Dariush, but that never happened because Dariush lost. But that was a fight I was interested in because they have similar styles. Yeah, it probably would have been a little bit boring, but technically it would have been a really fun, interesting fight. But we also had Valentina Shevchenko, who retained her title, and she is one of my favorite fighters, and I think that's one of the fighters that we need to cherish while we have her because she's getting up there. She's been doing this a very long time. She goes out there and all she does is win. She's hit one speed bump. We also had the retirement of Jose Aldo, who is a superstar, who was a blast to watch, who everybody was turning into, who was appointment television. So it's sad to see another superstar hang up the gloves and leave the octagon for good. Granted, he's done this before, but I don't think he's coming back from this one. I think this is it. He has put out many posts talking about how it's it. So it's sad to see him go, but at least we got to see him while he was here. He put on some of the most exciting fights you could ever hope to see. So thank you, Jose Aldo, for everything you brought to the sport. And finally, Bruno Silva, prayers up or whatever you believe in for Bruno Silva. He took a insane elbow and he was taken off on a stretcher. So we want to send prayers, send thoughts, whatever you have, whatever you do, to Bruno Silva and his family. Get better soon. I hope for a quick recovery, and we hope that you can return to the sport you love. That's it for the Sad Fan this week. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Back to the block. Back in the shop, get it off a dummy.